Good evening, race fans, and welcome to the very first round of the Porsche Cup Challenge. We are here today at Willow Springs International Raceway to kick things off for the very first time, bringing you the action in a tape delay setting, 1080p, 60 frames a second as per usual. Drivers having already completed qualifying, now going to get themselves onto the starting grid and ready for today's events. Let's go ahead and run through our starting lineup for today's race. Starting off in the front of the field for the GTP class, we have Charlie Puyer and Jack Busser in the front row. Carl Ribbing and Mark Albano taking up your second row. Starting off in the GT3 class, we have Ariel Julian, Adam Morrow in the first row, Michael McLeod, Jason Lyons in our second row, Michael Carrillo and Tyler Maraglia in our third row. Jeff Saville and Don Morera in our fourth row. Moving on down the grid, we have ourselves Young Chow, Bill Haynes taking up our fifth row, Shannon Motherill and Tyler Anderson in our sixth row, Don Hunter and Jao Lima in our seventh row, Gary Watson, Vlad Sanchez in our eighth row, Jean Rivera, Jeffrey Seabach taking up our eighth row. And that will be the field for today's race, getting ourselves ready to kick things off as drivers get themselves set and ready to go. Currently lining up on the field, just getting themselves set up, ready to go and kick off the very first race of this season for the Porsche Cup Challenge. And this will be the very first time that Team Goon Squad will be here for this event as well. So it is great to be out here on track and to be here for this race here today for the Porsche Cup Challenge and be able to bring the coverage for you folks at home here today. So just a few seconds remaining before the safety car makes its way around the track and we get things kicked off and ready to go here. With today being one of the first times that I will have been here for a race here at Willow Springs, this is going to be an exciting day, not only for myself, but hopefully for all of the drivers present here today. Quite a healthy field that we have, and frankly, I think it's going to be a lot of great racing. Only 50 minutes that we will have for today's race, so not a whole lot of time that drivers are going to have to work with, so it's going to be a lot of just pure racecraft that is going to determine who's going to come away with that win here today. Now, just kind of taking a quick look around the track here, seeing what we can see here from the camera angles that we have available to us. Haven't quite done a ride along with any of the drivers yet. We can go ahead and do that here for just a moment. We are riding on board with Mark Albano in that number 9 machine along in the GTP class. So we can see as he's making his way around the track the different elevation changes that drivers will encounter in some of the, well, seemingly tricky kind of turns that we have here right in the middle section. This kind of kink right in the middle of what could be a very long straightaway if that wasn't there, but they have that kink there, which does make the racing a little bit more intimidating if you are not careful heading into that kind of into that first chicane, and the exit as well going to be a critical part, making sure that you hit that marker, hit those brake points, hit the exit as quickly as you possibly can, and avoid trying to get that rear end away from you, as we are just a little bit over halfway before we see that safety car make its way back down into the pits. We kick things off here for the very first time, and we see how really this field is going to kind of what kind of show these drivers are going to give us here for the first time here in the GTP, or in the Porsche Cup Challenge, I should say here. And here it is coming out of the final turn. There it is, the safety car making its way back down into pit road, and away the green flag drops. And here we go on the loud pedal. We have Young Choi and the rest of the field, Charlie Puyer and Jack Busser going at it almost head to toe as they very quick through turns 1 and 2, and not too surprising with these GTP cars, doing a phenomenal job of staying within just a few tenths of one another. But back in the GT3 class, this is where things get a little bit more interesting. Drivers currently fighting through all of the action as it's unfolding here, and it seems to be that we might have some issues with our timing and scoring at the moment here as well. Kind of the positions being shown a little bit inaccurately. The 11th place spot showing as actually, I think I know what's happening here, but we will try and fix that in the meantime. Moving on, though, Charlie Puyer doing an absolutely phenomenal job up all the way at the very front of the field. Jeffrey Seebach looking like he's going to have a little bit of a hiccup here for the time being. So as the action is continuing to settle out here, we're still looking to try and figure out where our timing and scoring is getting incorrect here. But seemingly we have Adamaro all the way at the very front of the pack here at the moment, trying to work his way on through the action. And Ariel Julian going to be the one at the very front of it all here. And it looks like now, oh, as we've got big trouble here. Multiple drivers off into the sand. Michael Carrillo going to be one of them. Jao Lima also going to be involved in that one. Here goes John Rivera also heading way out into the dirt, but able to recover from it and get himself back into the action. Charlie Puyer now going to be at the front of the GTP class and holding on to that lead for the time being. Ariel Julian, your driver for the GT3 class, the one at the very front of it all. And he's going to be the one to stay just a little bit further ahead, about a little over 2 seconds between himself and the next closest GT3 driver. We have a few different battles happening around the track between Geoff Saville. I hope I'm saying that correctly here, but about 6 cars in a bit of a groove, all within a few tenths of a second of each other at this moment. So let's take a quick moment right on board here with Don Hunter, number 4 driver, looking to get around Don Morera, number 404 machine just up ahead. You can see in that yellow-green sort of. Goes alongside, a good pass being made, and also a good dive to try and push up to the back of Shannon Mothrell. Number 19 driver getting within a few tenths of a second, but not quite able to make it stick that time as he made his way through that left-hander of turn 1. But things settling back out for a good majority of this field, at least for the time being. The GTP class starting to heat up, though, as they make their way through a bit of the GT3 traffic. Clean and smooth for both Charlie and Jack here, the number 47 and the 444 machines. The 444 leading the race at the moment for both classes and looking quite impressive here at this moment. Trying to snake his way on through, goes into the gravel for just a moment, and his competitor also going to be gridlocked here as he's right smack dab behind two GT3 drivers, and you can see another competitor, Carl Ribbing, making his way to the tail of it all as well, trying to sneak his way on through as here goes Charlie, more GT3 traffic, and in on through goes Jack. The number 47 driver able to take advantage of all the traffic that these drivers are having to work their way through at this time. Makes it happen, and now he's in the lead, but Charlie's not going to make that one easy around the outside. There it is. Doesn't quite get as easy as that here, but the action all happening all over this track is quite amazing at this point in time. As Jack continues to fight alongside Charlie for the lead, giving it everything they've got. And all coming down to who has the better advantage coming through all this traffic. There you can see Jack trying to flash his lights, letting the GT3 drivers ahead of him know that he's coming in and he's coming in hot. Back into the GT3 class, we've got battles happening between Don Hunter, Bill Haynes, and various other drivers as well as they continue their fights around this so far very exciting track that has already put on some great action even early on in this race. Hopefully that continues throughout this race given the size of this track. A lot of traffic should be seen. That should shake things up here pretty well as we're getting very spicy here. 13th overall, Don Hunter we're watching along with at this moment. Fighting with Tyler Maraglia. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Sorry, I had to think about that for a moment. Tyler Maraglia, Don Hunter. Both 12th and 13th overall at this moment. You can see on the left-hand side of your screens, 8th place in the GT3 class for Tyler, and 9th place for Don here at this moment. Michael McLeod, Young Chow, going to be duking it out side by side in the battle for the lead for their class. And Adam at this moment going to be the one out ahead, and looks to be about a 4-second gap between himself and Michael at this moment for that lead, but Young Chow trying to get into that second place position, climbing his way up that podium, but he's got to get his way around Michael here if he can do so. About a half a second separating these two drivers at the moment. We'll continue to watch along with that as best as we can. Tyler Maraglia, Don Hunter, and Bill Haynes. Almost all three of these drivers nose to tail, trying to settle in to a good groove here and push each other as best as they can. Jao Lima trying to get as close as he can to Michael Carilla, using that draft down the straightaway, closing that gap in as best as he can. And oh boy, we're getting a little loosey-goosey here for, I believe that was Bill Haynes. No, that was Don Hunter, I believe. The blue number 4 machine getting a little loose coming out of 2 and able to recover very well. Now going to be alongside on the passenger door of Bill Haynes. trying to stay as close as he possibly can here. Also, Don Morera trying to close the gap along with João Lima. Jeffrey Seabach reporting back that he's had an incident here. It looks to be the damage is pretty severe. That car bouncing in all kinds of weird ways that you definitely don't want to see as various battles continue to develop around the track here. And we surpassed that 10-minute mark. 10 laps, 10 minutes. Seems to be all right. Currently the GTP class clicking off laps at of about a minute per lap here, which is actually pretty ironic. But either way, the GT3 class is setting lap times of about a minute 15 seconds. We'll start to see that time degrade over time. But given that if I'm trying to remember correctly here, GTP class, it has a 65% fuel allotment, and the Porsche, the GT3 class, having a 50% fuel allotment. So there will be a fuel stop that drivers will have to make here at some point. You can also see, I believe that was Michael Carrillo. No, Carl Ribbing. Multiple of the GTP drivers going a little off track there for a moment. Able to bring it back onto the track here. Big trouble, though, for Mark Albano as he has completely destroyed the front end. Carl Ribbing also getting involved in that one, able to narrowly scathe by that one, but still having been involved with that incident. Mark Albano, you can see that it doesn't even look like a car anymore. The front left tire is completely caved in. That is not going to be a drivable race car. You can also see some damage to that right side tire as well. The whole front end suspension, as well as the alignment, is going to need some serious repair. And I don't think it will be in time to get back out onto the track to continue his race for today, unfortunately. So he'll have to put it back in the trailer and live to race another day. So Mark Albano, Tyler Maraglia going to find himself off in the dirt. And this seems to be the part of the course, and the one part of the course where I expected to really see drivers kind of find themselves in some tricky situations. And lo and behold, here we are. Here we go, Bill Haynes, Don Hunter, they're going to try and go at it here for the 8th place position here in the GT3 class. And when I say GT3, I do not believe there are any other cars other than the Porsche here in the GT3 class. So it is, again, the Porsche Cup Challenge. So just wanted to make that clear in case it wasn't already obvious. However, Don Hunter, Bill Haynes continuing that fight here for the 8th place position. Just a little bit further up ahead, the battle for 3rd between Young Chow and Jeff Saville, with it developing to just under a quarter of a second at this moment. Trying to see if we can get into that draft here just a little bit, seeing a little bit of brake dust just up ahead of these drivers here, it looked like for a second. Might have just been, oh boy, might have just been some drivers kicking up some dirt. And speaking of getting way off into the gravel there, able to recover from it. Back here, things getting a little bit more interesting, and here goes Mark Albano, and surprisingly enough, he's back out here and racing, and I would have to imagine that is going to be because of the fact that they have to have at least one fast repair for that to happen. Unless there's more than one, or if I'm not exactly 100% certain on that, I'm sure I will be after today. However, that is a good thing. That is a good thing that they have an extra spare car that they can just hop in and get back out there and continue their race. However, that does come at the cost that Mark is going to still be a lap down to his competitors here at the moment. So not exactly an ideal situation regardless. However, he's not completely out of the race, and I think that's better than the alternative, than just parking it for the day and calling it a night. Young Choi, I believe is actually how that's pronounced, but Young is going to find himself out in the gravel for quite some time, and that's going to put him down into that 5th place spot after fending for 3rd for quite some time, trying to climb his way back up the ladder. Now going to find himself even a little bit further behind than where he would like to be, and with the kind of format that we have in this race, you don't have a whole lot of time to try and recover from a situation like that. And with how difficult this particular track really seems to drive here, as we see Joff go right to the outside, capitalizing on the mistake that Young just made. We're going to see if Channon as well is going to see if he can also get in on some of the mix here. It seems like Young is starting to find himself in a little bit of a struggle bus here. We'll see if he can work himself off of it and get back into a good groove. But for the time being, Jeff going to move his way up into the 5th place spot for the GT3 class. Young going to continue to try and stay in that draft, in that tail, as we come down the straightaway across the checkered line and head into turn 1. Looks to try and just stay near the tail end of that number 3 machine and see if he can get a door to open for himself and make that pass when the opportunity is made available. Michael McLeod goes off track here as we tune into the battle for the lead of the GT3 class, and Michael was very, very close there, tuning in at just the wrong moment there to catch all the action as it's ending. But still, Michael trying to give it everything he's got here and still managing to reel in Adam just by a little bit here. Now going to be a little over a second separating these two drivers, but going to continue to push and see if he can pull off some sort of gains here. Now again, drivers are going to have to make their way down into pit road, grab a fresh set of tires as well as fuel. Tires maybe not so much. They could theoretically still last all the way until the end of the race and be fine. But however, if the option's there, if you're coming down pit road anyway, might as well grab a fresh set. Coming down the straightaway, Bill Haynes looking to get into that draft of Don Hunter. Again, that battle for 8th place that's kind of been developing for quite some time. It really has been consistent between these two drivers, both Don Hunter and Bill Haynes. Young Choi as well as Channon Mothrill they're starting to bring in a little bit of a battle of themselves, but Adam Morrow and Michael McLeod getting right back into that groove. Yet again, Michael able to reel it into now just over, well, just about a half a second. When I say, folks, that is not an easy thing to do. It's definitely not. It's to find that time in the heat of racing. It definitely takes a true professional to know what they're doing behind the wheel to be able to pull something like that off. But there it is, 20 minutes in halfway. Well, excuse me, I don't want to say halfway. That'll, in about 5 minutes, it'll be halfway. But that will be marking where, kind of like benchmarking, I guess we could say, on how far these drivers can go on a half a tank of fuel, at least for the GT3 class. Now, Tyler Moriglia finding himself off track here, getting back onto the racing surface without any trouble there. Definitely not something you want to do more than a few times, especially in a race like this where there's just action everywhere. A lot of experienced drivers. You definitely don't want to be off the racing line for too long and risk losing too many positions here. But Young Choi, Shannon Motherill going at it here yet again, and Adam Morrow, Michael McLeod battling for the lead in the GT3 class. Nearly going to see Michael try and take an opening here. If he can do so, I'm more than certain he's going to be able to find some time here on the straightaway. And here, he might even be able to pull it off here. Maybe not. Sending it a little bit too much through that very long sweeping right-hander. But here it is onto the front straightaway. Getting right into the draft. Going to come across the checkered line with just under a tenth of a second. Goes to the outside. A battle for the lead through turn one. Michael looking not quite able to make it stick this time. Adam keeping up the pace very, very well here. Michael looks to the inside. Here goes Jack around the outside. Continuing on with his race and just clicking off laps at this point as the GTP class is relatively settled out here and has mainly just come down to clicking off laps. Dan Morera, Zhao Lima, gonna go at it side by side. The battle for 11th at this moment in the GT3 class. Lima goes to the inside. He's gonna get an edge here into that 11th place position. It looks like Dan's gonna find himself left out to dry as they come out of the final turn onto the front straightaway. Oh man, I was looking at that wondering what the move was gonna be, and that, folks, I can't tell you how quickly that decision had to be made. Otherwise it would have just been catastrophe. But that's only a split-second decision, but this decision was correct and it worked out for everyone involved in that situation. And right now we're just kind of tuning along with Zhao Lima, a few other drivers, a few other battles that have slowly developed here and are now starting to dissipate a little bit as we, I would imagine, start to approach that pit stop window. Speaking of which, right on cue, Ariel Julian coming to come on in with the 613 machine, and that's going to start the first, I would imagine, the first official stop of the race here. And we'll see if any other drivers are going to follow suit. It looks like Michael Carrillo going to be another driver to come on in here. Lap 24, just under halfway to go here. Jao Lima, Don Hunter, Dan Morera. A little bit of a tight groove here as I'd assume whether it be this lap or next lap, we're going to start to see the rest of the field make their way down into the pits. And as for the GTP class, I'd imagine they're going to be able to stay out just a lap or two longer before they have to also make that entry down into the pit road. And Michael McLeod and Adam Morrow going at it here yet again. Adam trying to reel in Michael here, or at least stay within a car length here of Michael before they come down into pit road. Definitely gives him a better chance at continuing this fight coming out of the pits, but it also depends on when these drivers are going to come down into pit road as well. I'm sure that both their tire management and fuel management are going to be relatively equal to one another here. Kind of been driving similar lines all race long. And so I think that will definitely kind of even these two drivers up quite a bit here. And they're going to pass on by. It looked like that might have even been maybe a little bit of a fake job here from Michael. I'm not entirely certain on that, but he definitely looked like he was peeking in there to pit road, but you could probably tell just by the speed alone that he wasn't going to make that decision regardless. So Tyler Anderson, Shannon Mothroll, Young Choi, and Bill Haynes all going to come down into pit road this time by and get that stop done and over with. Don Hunter, Dan Morera, another battle happening out here on track, looking to stay out here another lap or more. So the GTP class, the first official driver to make their way into the pits, Jack Busser, and that's it for the GTP class. I, for some reason, thought there was more, but that is going to be the first driver in their class to make the first official stop. Bill Haynes, Tyler Anderson continuing their fight for that 10th place position, or 9th place position, excuse me. Vlad Sanchez, the number 2 driver, finding himself in a little bit of trouble here. Got thrown off by the number 4 on the side of his car there, but he is showing number 2 in timing and scoring, so that might be a little bit of an error on someone's part. We'll figure that out later on. But Bill Haynes, Tyler Anderson, one of the closest battles out here on track at the moment. And with just about 20 minutes left to go here, this is going to be an interesting decision here from both. Well, really, what I'm most curious about here, not only between these two drivers and how they're going to kind of play this one out. Anderson going to be looking for a deep, deep dive coming out of the final turn, staying right in the draft on the front straightaway and across the checkered line. Looks to the inside, heading into turn number 1. He's going to be able to pull this one off. And just barely as well. You can see Bill Haynes, he was looking to try and swing it back in and try and retake that position. Not quite able to make it happen this time around. But Michael McLeod, as well as Adam Morrow, well, right as I say that, Adam Morrow now going to be under fire from Jeff Saville. Big incident here from Ariel Julian, it seems like, getting back onto the track as quickly as possible. One of the more unique entries into pit road. It's definitely going to be a speeding penalty served by Ariel here. But going on through the gravel, and yeah, that's one way to do it. Oh, man. Jack absolutely flying here, working his way through the GT3 traffic and just making it look incredibly easy, but wow, that looked impressive. And here we're seeing Bill Haynes, Tyler Anderson, as well as Jason Lyons close in on a bit of a battle here for that 7th place position. All three of these drivers within 0.2 of a second of each other. Jason Lyons trying to get a good run in here as well. And while we have a moment here, let's actually ride on board here with Jason and just have a quick listen to the sights and sounds here today at Willow Springs. And just enjoy a lap or two here with Jason. Good ride on board here with Jason Lyons, doing an absolutely phenomenal job here. Now we're looking at young Choi here, number 13 driver, and a little confused by just noticing that Jason Lyons, when we're showing him, he's also showing that he's the number 13 of young Choi. At least that's what his car says, but we won't delve into that right now. We'll just go by what the timing and scoring is telling us. Tyler Anderson making a great move up into the 4th place position for the GT3 class. Off into turn 1, a excellent pass, leaving Jason Lyons and young Choi to continue their fight. Tenth of a second separating these two drivers, and staying right on the heel of Tyler Anderson. Young's trying to do everything in his power to make a pass here down the long front straightaway and across the checkered line. Not much longer left to go before we see the end of this race here today. Jack Busser at the moment seems to be the one to come away with the win for the GTP class, as he doesn't have a whole lot of competition around him. The next closest driver about 16 seconds away, so he's definitely got a little bit of room to work with, but still got to be careful of any mistakes that could be made here. Jason Lyons continuing to try and push up the top 5, maybe even get into that 4th place position. With about 12 minutes left to go, I don't think that he's going to be able to make any sort of attempt heading up to 3rd place, where Adamaro currently stands, but at the very least can make a pass up here into that 4th place spot around Tyler Anderson, if he can pull it off here. A little bit further around the field here, João Lima as well as Bill Haynes continue their fight in that 7th place position. Both staying very calm, very steady at the moment, just clicking those laps off. Don't want to do anything too daring. Having surpassed the 10-minute marker not much time is left to go here. Drivers just, again, focusing on dialing in those laps and not letting anyone make any passes here this late in the race. But for what will seem like an eternity for these drivers, it really will come down to, oh boy, these two really rubbing wheels as they come out of the final turn onto the front straightaway. Jason Lyons going to be the one to get out in front and now going to be into that fourth place position. Like we were talking about just a moment ago, Tyler Anderson not going to let that one go too easily, however. Heading off into turn one, going to stay within a couple tenths of a second to try and stay within striking distance. While the clock is still ticking, there is a bit of time and still a small chance that he could retake that spot. But it has to come down to a near perfect lap every single time in order for that to happen. Only a couple battles that really are left to remain between Jason Lyons and Tyler Anderson, the next one between João Lima and Don Hunter, Dan Marrero as well. Morera also going to be a part of a battle here as well, but for the most part, it's going to be smooth sailing for a lot of drivers here. It's just those couple of battles that you really got to pay attention to and look out for, because any sort of mistake that happens in between those, it is going to mean, if not position loss, or just really a chance at some good points, good position, whatever the case might be, whatever drivers are striving for here today for the first round of the Porsche Cup Challenge. Side by side for a moment between Dan Marrero, Don Hunter, as they duke it out for that 9th place position. Again, with almost 5 minutes left to go here, this is it. This is where it's all going to come down to. Anderson showing he went off track for just a moment. Bill Haynes as well, I think, also trying to stay in the chase, as he's starting to see João Lima close in on him here with now 5 minutes left to go. Lima trying to stay within a few tenths of a second of Bill Haynes. Bill trying to hold on to that line, trying to stay consistent here as best as possible. Carl Ribbing showing that he's gone off track, able to recover from it after spending a little bit of time off in the dirt. Adamaro as well having to, you can see both Jason Lyons and Adamaro going a little wide there on the final exit onto the front straightaway. Bill Haynes, Joao Lima stay within a few tenths of a second. Bill going a little wide into the dirt, onto the front straightaway, nearly going to come alongside Bill. Joao trying to get as much speed as he can, heading off into turn number 1, staying within 2 tenths. As they make their way through the long right-hander of turn 2. Adamaro, Jason Lyons now going to be side by side. Lyons looks to the inside, heading through the final turn and onto the front straightaway. That's going to give the 340 machine the advantage. Morrow going through the gravel onto the front straightaway, going to try and stay in the draft as best as he can. Coming across the line, it's 2.5 minutes left to go before we see the checkered flag wave here tonight. Hunter, Shannon Mothrow. The battle for 10th place slowly coming closer and closer together, especially as we start to see drivers kind of blinking in and out of here. Side by side across the checkered line. Shannon Mothrill, Don Hunter into turn number 1. Who's going to be the one to come out on top for the 9th place position? Or excuse me, for the 10th place position. Because right now this is the closest battle out on the track, and only a few seconds remaining before we see that checkered flag fly. It looks to be once we see Jack Busser make his way around the next couple turns here, that will wave the green flag, and that will be the end of our race here today. So theoretically, this will be the last chance for drivers to finish this one out here tonight. There it is. The checkered flag is waved as multiple drivers making their way across the checkered line. Bill Haynes, Joao Lima, just barely a couple of tenths a second separating these two drivers, but that will conclude their race here today. Jeff Saville, Michael McLeod, Jason Lyons, a few other drivers in the lead spot for the GT3 class, going to have to make their way through the final couple turns before they can officially call their race done and dusted here. But as these drivers make their way across the checkered line and finish out their race, I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who tunes in and watches the broadcast over. Thank you all for being a part of the coverage here today. Thank you to all the drivers and to the league for providing the race here today and providing us something to cover. As always, it is appreciated, and we hope to see you again in the next one, as we will be back same time, same place next week as we head into round number 2. But it looks like one of the drivers have made their way across the checkered line, and we will run through our post-race results. And there you can see on the screen now. We'll run through them real quickly. Jack Busser coming away with the overall win. Charlie Puyer in second. Carl Ribbing in third. Jeff Saville in fourth. Michael McLeod in fifth. Jason Lyons in that sixth place spot. Adam Morrow in seventh. Young Choi in eighth place. Tyler Anderson in ninth. Bill Haynes in 10th. Jao Lima in 11th. Dan Morera in 12th. Shannon Mothrill in 13th. Don Hunter in 14th. Michael Carrillo in 15th. Tyler Mariglia in 16th, Gary Watson in 17th, and Vlad Sanchez in that 18th spot. And moving on down just a little bit further, we've got a few other drivers. Malc Albano in 19th, Ariel Juliet in 20th, Jeffrey Seabach in 21st, and Jean Rivera in 22nd. Folks, my name is Mason Heimbaugh with Team Goon Squad, bringing you all the action here today. I want to thank you all for watching, and if you enjoyed what you saw, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe, and we will catch you all in the next one.